Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a how-to video for Instagram.
Non più tra I farfalloni amorosi.
Oh, I have such cold feet. So I recently did the exciting thing of making a new backdrop for my Instagram page. So this is what we're going to be discussing today. I posted it on my Instagram story on how I did it, on the process of what I was doing, but I thought I would make a whole video on a how-to for anyone else out there who would like to do what I have done. So for starters, I'm going to show you what I've done just to begin with. So I have made myself basically a 5-foot by 4-foot board with planks, white vintage whitewash planks on it. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because they're absolutely massive, and this is what I take my photos on. So the reason I've decided to do this video is because whilst there are heaps of tutorial videos out there on YouTube already, from the Australian perspective, I felt that I kept getting a bit stunted in the process because I didn't have the access to the materials that Americans do. So this is definitely going to be geared towards an Australian audience and maybe some other countries, but if you're from America, England, etc., then I hope that this is still at least helpful in showing you how it's done, even though you're not going to have the stores that I'm talking about. So we're going to start by looking at why I made this. So originally I bought these sort of square pieces of paper that were probably about this big, and I had 2 of them, and I got this from Spotlight, which is like a homeware slash craft store in Australia. And I was using those and they worked pretty well. I just put them down straight onto carpet and that was sort of enough support for the paper for it to not crumple, and I ended up photocopying 2 more but A4 sizes of the sheets, and it started getting a bit messy. In a lot of my photos, I might be able to show you close up or maybe not, you can have a scroll through my Instagram page, you can see where the paper overlaps and it's not a nice smooth and continuous background, and I was starting to get really frustrated. So I've been very touch and go for the last few months of finding a solution to upgrade this, and whether that was trying to find just a bigger piece, like an A3, A2 size piece of paper that I could work on, but the trouble of trying to find the print that I wanted, I like this whitewash background, so I was really struggling to find either online or in-store something that worked the same but was bigger and a little bit more durable, because with paper, obviously if you step on it, you bend it, you rip it, then you've ruined your backdrop and that's not great. In the past I have used plain white backgrounds such as like a tea tray, but again they were quite small and I really wanted to do some bigger shots so I could get more things in one photo, which led me to the interwebs. Now, many Americans out there have recommended various websites, predominantly Amazon, which has like a plethora of options if you do live in America that you can get shipped to you, but most of the YouTubers that I was looking at and the recommendations and links they had in their description did not ship to Australia, so I was just getting stuck again and again trying to find something that I could access. So after about 2 weeks of scrolling through the internet to try and find a website that would do it for a reasonable price, I found somewhere, and I've managed to do this whole thing for what I think is a pretty affordable cost. Now, it's not free, it's not a $10 project. I think all up I probably spent around the $50 mark in Australian dollars, but it's something I'm going to use for years now and I'm really happy, so for me that is a good investment. So the trouble with finding something was working out what material I needed, what material other people were using, where I could get other supplies if I needed to do what I ended up doing if I couldn't just buy a piece of whatever that I could just lay out, and just sort of in general having no idea what I was doing. In the end, I worked out that one of the most common things people were using was vinyl. There was one website, I think actually was Australian or it shipped to Australia, but it was $80 to just get a piece of vinyl that was smaller than what I've got here, and I thought that's a little bit overpriced, and in the end I found something that was considerably cheaper than that. So where I ended up finding it from was from an American store where it only took about a week to get here and the shipping was actually super reasonable. So I went to a website called buybackdrop.com. Super simple and easy title. I will leave all of these links down in the description below. Now on this website they have heaps of backdrops and it's mostly catered towards, I think, more professional photography, because the thin vinyl sheets that you can buy from there that are sort of like a plastic linen, that's what they feel like, they're meant to be either on the floor or you could hang them up for like an actual photo shoot of somebody standing up. So there are heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of things on this website, so no matter what your style is, your theme, I think you'll probably be able to find something that you're looking for. So for example, it starts at 3 feet by 5 feet and that costs about $8. Now I don't know if this is showing me in Australian or if it's showing me in American, so you'll have to work that one out yourself. You can buy it in either thin vinyl or in polyester. So I ended up getting a 5, I think this might be American dollars because mine was more like 12, so mine was 4 foot by 5 foot. So I was going to get the 3 by 5, which probably would have been enough, but I just wanted to give myself a little bit more room to work with. But in the end, it ended up being $13 before shipping, and I paid about $17 with the shipping, and it came again within about a week. I wasn't sure whether this would come rolled up or folded. Ended up coming folded, which brings me to the next problem slash challenge for making your own backdrop. Because it came folded in an A4 package, it meant that it was creased. And I then had to go through the internet once more to figure out how to iron out creases in thin vinyl. And it turns out this is a common problem, but with a rather annoyingly common solution that is just not accessible for someone like me if you don't have a steamer. So I'm going to tell you how I did it. There was one YouTube video I found that was really helpful. I'm going to link her video down below. I did pretty much everything that she'd said to do. I tried a few other things just in case, but it worked for me and I managed to get all the creases out. Now they were quite severe creases as well, but they did iron out, and once I stuck them to the board that I bought, it's completely smooth now. You can't even tell that it's like a material. So what I did is I did literally iron it. Now the way that these prints work is they're usually transferred onto the material with heat. So I've been told. So always, always, always iron onto the reverse so that you don't accidentally melt the print off. And I was so scared of doing this, I actually started by ironing through a pillowcase on the reverse, and you want the iron to be in a really low heat. So I just turned it the whole way down to the absolute minimum, and then I just ended up notching it up ever so slightly, but still pretty much within the minimum bracket, just because I was getting impatient. But it was fine, nothing burnt, nothing melted, worked a treat. The other thing you'll need though is either a spray bottle, or if you have the iron that has the spray function, every iron I've ever encountered has this function, then you should be okay. So I flipped it over onto the reverse and had the fun task of ironing 5 feet worth of material on a small ironing board. It was not too dissimilar to having to iron a massive pleated skirt where you just seem to be going around endlessly, if you've ever ironed a skirt before. Now, I went through this process, it took me a little bit of time, but you just want to be quite heavy with the water spraying. Again, watch the video below that I'm going to link up to see what she does, because she's filming herself do the whole process. So if you're not sure how much water to use, you can get a gauge there, but you can be pretty heavy-handed with it. It's going to dry out, it shouldn't affect it, so you just want to wet the folds, because that helps when the iron goes over with the heat to just sort of weigh that crease down and iron it out. The other thing with the vinyl is that whilst you're ironing on the reverse, it doesn't always look like you've got the folds out of it, but when you flip it over to the other side, it's flat. So I don't know what crazy magical physics is going on there, but basically as you do little bits, just check and see, because you might be sitting there for ages trying to get one specific area out and actually it looks fine on the other side. Once I did that, I then put it aside and I laid it flat to dry. I literally just put it on the floor, and I just didn't want to stick it down to anything before it was completely dry, because duh. But before all of this happened, I had to work out what I was going to stick it to and how I was going to get it stuck to and what I wanted to use in the end. Now, I can't remember the names of anything that I used, but I'll give you a good description. Alright, I do actually have the name on the back here because I didn't take the barcode off. So I went to Bunnings, which is an Australian sort of hardware do-it-yourself store, and it has everything you could ever possibly need. So I just went for a wander down some of the aisles that had, I was looking for a foam board, but that wasn't what I ended up getting. I ended up getting this sort of plastic, it's like a plastic sheet. It's very, very thin, as you can see there. So it was 1.2 meters by a meter, so if that's not the measurements you usually use, you can have fun converting that yourself. It's called Tunnel Core All-Purpose UV Double Wall Utility Board, if that helps anybody else who's going to be venturing to Bunnings. And I bought that as well as some spray adhesive. So that was just literally a spray can, went down the aisle and picked one that looked like it would do. It cost me about $10 to get the spray, and it cost me $10 for that board. So it was about a $20 shop altogether to get that part of it. That pretty much brought my total to about $40, so not $50, even cheaper than I thought. Pretty happy with that. I came home, and the tricky part was then deciding how to lay the vinyl down onto the board and keeping it smooth. And there was no easy answer to this. You need 2 people and try not to get too angry at each other. I ended up doing it with Jaden, so he helped me, and what we did is we sprayed the adhesive all over the side we were sticking it to on the board, and then we sprayed it all over the underside of the vinyl sheet as well, on its reverse side. We let that dry for a little bit because the adhesive that we were using required it to sort of become a little bit tacky before you applied it, and then very slowly we had someone hold it while someone was on the floor pushing it out with their hands and spreading it out. It was a little bit forgiving, so you could pull it back up and smooth it out if you got it down wrong, but for the most part it went down fine. If we've seen any pictures of it, we did put it on wonky, but it's not It's not horrific, it's just a little bit off-centered, but that's fine. I ended up then just trimming all the edges. There was probably a good few inches of overhang on each side, and then with sticky tape we just folded over the last bits to tuck it in, make it smooth and look nice on that side. But that's really up to you. I mostly did that so that I don't accidentally catch the corners in the future or let it peel up, so it's sort of all stuck down. And that was pretty much how it's done. So it was actually really simple and easy to do. It didn't cost too much. It was a simply two-man job that I did at home, and it worked a treat. So I've taken quite a few pictures on it since, so you can go ahead and look at my Instagram page, maybe give it a follow if you want to see some of my different photos that are coming up that are going to have a much wider scope to them. So I hope you found this helpful. If you are looking at doing your own make it yourself backdrop for Instagram, whether you're looking for this particular design or another, let me know down below if you have any questions or anything that I wasn't clear about, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.